Okay, guys, how about we make a TV show?
Are you ready to welcome this season's suitor, Darius Beck?
He's black, and you want him dating white girls.
Hopefully he's gonna be making deep, dark, nasty love to them too.
Let me make sure I got this right. I live here, and I'm on camera 24 hours a day.
Yeah. We don't solve problems, we make them and point cameras at them.
Her fiance died a year and a half ago.
Ask her, did you kill him?
Call the Emmys, baby! Money, dick, power, right?
Yes, money, dick, power.
I promised the network suicide ratings, and we need to deliver.
In the right situation, she could explode.
It's perfect. Put Brandy in the hole.
You can't lock me in here!
Going for the kill.
Yeah, I am so hard right now.
The two of you together are terrifying.
Thank you.
You guys, this is the best show on television right now. Thank you so much for coming by. I don't even watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, but I fucking love your show so much. It is incredible. And I want to get to preview the second season and talk about it, but my first question for you guys is, you've all sort of been in TV for a while, you've been actors for a little while. What do you think when you get the pilot script for this? Do you think, oh my God, this is going to be a hit? Or like, I hope this works and they pick it up because this is really risky and daring?
You thought this is either going to be amazing or this is going to be the worst thing that's ever happened and kill my career. It's going to be one of the two. Luckily, it ended up working out.
It's incredible. What did you think when you first started working on this show?
You know, I think it was terrifying and super challenging, which made it that much more exciting. Because it's true, we had to hit big or not hit at all. And so it was a lot of pressure, but yet we were kind of working out of a cave in Vancouver and just saying, you know what, if we just keep all these characters super grounded, and, you know, how can they not like us? You know, I
don't know. What was most challenging at first? What was the most challenging aspect of working on the show at first?
I think the most challenging thing was finding the actual tone of the show, because it could go really sort of comedic and big and broad, and if it did, it wouldn't work. So it was just really having to say, like, let's play this like Newsroom. This is like a very serious Aaron Sorkin kind of drama, which kind of plays against some of the language in the script. And so I think once we all really figured out the tone and we got to actually see the show, it started to make much more sense.
And we went through several incarnations. I mean, we had an original pilot that we shot in 2013 in Atlanta where the show was much more comedic, and that really wasn't the tone that Lifetime and Sarah were going for. So once they rewrote, did some recasting, and we reshot it, we came up with what you all see today, which is brilliant, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig, you get to represent last season and this season the sort of old boys club.
I'll tell you what to say.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just ask her.
We'll take a brief pause and she can whisper in your ear and then you can come back at me. The sort of old boys club of television executives, and in this season you have a kind of spiritual justification for your sexism. You are a sort of Paleolithic men's rights activist, which is hilarious. As a guy who's been in TV for a while, is your character sort of based on anyone that you've been around or sort of what you've seen?
Too hard at me. I get intimidated.
Do you want to
easily intimidated?
Do you want to take a minute, let her give you an answer? And
I love her. Okay. I love her. You asking me like what justification for being an ass? Is that basically that he's an ass?
Yeah, or is your character?
Woo! Just so they can hear you.
Is your character inspired by anyone that you would come across in your days of television?
No, the role I was told was I was the first person that they thought of, and my goal in life is to get mentally healthy enough to not have that be incredibly great. I want to be mentally healthy enough to have that be insulting. He's kind of a chauvinist, but he wouldn't define himself that way. He wants to screw all of them. He doesn't really determine, I think Chet...
well, like any great sexist, he thinks that he's seen what's actually right and true in the world. But
I think Chet, like all of these characters, they're all very intelligent, and there's a chunk missing. And he tries to fill it. He has his own way of trying to fill that chunk, which is pharmaceutically. And by the end of the first season, when he experiences a really big loss, which is the woman that he loves, he sort of has to look within, and it's not pretty in there. And so he digs into his maleness, and when we first meet him in the second season, yes, he's just at the ass end of a Paleolithic male retreat, and and he's a changed man.
Yeah, he sounds exactly like a men's rights activist on Twitter.
Yeah, he becomes a little bit of a men's rights activist. He has his chants when he's going in and having certain confrontations. He's going back to get his kingdom back. That's where Chet is this season. He wants to get his kingdom back from Quinn, who's his adversary, but also the love of his life.
Are Quinn and Rachel adversaries this season? What do you guys think? I mean, last season it was like a roller coaster between the two. It ebbed and flowed. Where are we this season?
Well, this season we start off with Quinn actually letting Rachel be the showrunner of the show, but things being the show that it is, it falls apart pretty quickly, and they're actually at odds. And it's a very much like a teenager, or in my house we call it a three-nager, who's really trying to assert her independence. Rachel is really trying to assert her independence and say, like, I can be successful on my own. I don't need you. And so there's very much that, like, I can do this without you holding on to me.
Whereas Quinn is sort of trying to allow that, but then stepping in.
Yeah, it is that because they have this mother-daughter thing, there's this thing that comes with me giving her the reins, and I want her to succeed, but the second she doesn't, I'm more than happy to take those reins back.
Well, Quinn wouldn't know what to do with herself without having those reins to play with,
Exactly. But we definitely are at odds more this season than we were last, but we should be. I kind of messed with her a little bit, and I think it's interesting to see them when they're not a team. I don't think they're as good individually, but when they come back together, there's always this like ray of hope. And they do end up together, though, in the end. So we'll definitely tell the fans, never fear. The strong women will prevail and become one.
And this season kind of opens, without giving anything, it opens, you come from Entourage, you had a big part on Entourage. It opens with sort of a female entourage moment where it's just the two of you running a party, getting laid, getting high, and having a really great time. It felt like what we saw Vince and the boys do before, but with the two of you running the party.
That's right, and it only takes 2 women to show what 6 men can do.
Fuck yes. Fuck yes. BJ, you are the Bachelor.
BJ just said, man, that's messed up.
That's so messed up.
It's true. You are the Bachelor this season.
They have me playing the suitor, yes.
Take it off. Take it off.
What's it like to be the first black Bachelor, but in fiction?
It's a lot of pressure, I'll say that.
Unfortunately, because apparently we're not allowed to have those in reality.
I know, it's a long time coming. I'm just happy that UnREAL saw that that I was fit enough to play the first black Bachelor.
Mentally fit, physically fit?
Mentally, physically. I don't know. I'll let you all be the judge for
I heard
yourself.
some random story that that you had to get a trainer and you had to start working out for the roles.
I did. My buddy Dion trained me. He used to play football. And he was like, look, if you want to look like me, let me train you. And he's arrogant already. So I, had to say, yeah, fine. I want to look like you, whatever, And so like my diet completely changed, eating every 2.5 hours, gym 6 days a week for 2 hours. It was just, it was intense. It was intense.
Yeah, they put him through what they put women through.
Well,
make us work out, make us diet.
Oh my gosh.
That's so interesting. I'm pretty sure that wasn't on purpose.
Really?
That's what we go through.
That's what you all go through? Really? Okay.
It was hard, wasn't it?
That's what she said.
You're absolutely right. And not to stay on this too long, but I don't feel like women are kind of allowed to talk about the fact that they do have to do a workout regimen, that they do have to diet. It's always seen as like men go on talk shows all the time and are the ones like, oh yeah, I had a trainer 6 days a week, I cut down on carbs. Women are like, no, I'm just like this.
Yeah.
Like it's some sort of culturally accepted thing that women are not allowed to sort of speak about the amount of work that goes into maintaining what is expected of them on television and in film.
Well, but I also think men are allowed to get away with a lot more physically than women are.
Craig in the first.
Elaborate on that.
Craig?
I don't know about that.
Yeah. No, the first season. Well, the first season. Right. The first season, I realized what women go through in that I had double D jugs, and when I took my, I had to take my shirt off and have sex with this one over here. I had a bouncy. I was like, oh, we're doing jiggle television, and it's like the 70s. I'm Suzanne Summers, and boy, you know, and I saw it from the other side, and it was valuable.
You rewatched the first season, and you're like, I'm gonna
I haven't
hit the gym.
rewatched the first season for that reason. I'm not ready to do that yet. I took off like 50 pounds. I lost a Shiri. From my body. My goal was that we're going to share tops this season.
Was it written into the show that you lost weight, or did you do this on your own?
That's a credit to Sarah Gertrude Shapiro, who runs and writes the show, created the show. Is that I said, listen, I got to lose the weight. I don't feel good. I just want to take the weight off. Because when I first got the part, you know, I said, well, I like to lose a little weight before I do a part. She said, read the script first. And I read the script, and I was like, oh, it's all about the craft table, the craft service table all season. And I kept the weight on. It was appropriate for the part, but I didn't feel good.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, the credit goes to this one who I've known for a long time, and I sat down next to the
How does the credit go to you?
You want me to tell the story?
Yeah, you tell the story. You tell the story.
Well, we could act it out if you want.
Oh my God, please act it out.
We were on set one day, and it was late at night, and Craig was just like, what do you think? Should I lose a little weight? You think I should lose a little weight? And I was like, yeah, Craig, I think you should lose like 50 pounds.
And I said, 15 pounds?
It's like, no, like 50.
50.
Like 50 pounds.
Yeah. 50. That's an Olsen.
But I know it sounds a little crazy, but we were very good friends for many, many years.
Yeah.
So it sounds very mean. You guys.
No, it wasn't
laughed.
mean because
you feel better.
Shiri's one of those people that, and she is like, and she directed an episode, and it's a quality that's great in a director. You want somebody who can speaks correctly, and I don't mean just grammatically, which you do, by the way. You know English very well. But also says the right. It's right. She's correct. Most of the time, she's absolutely correct, and who speaks clearly and says the truth.
It's never out of malice.
It's absolutely the truth. There's no arrogance.
She wasn't like 50 pounds.
No. And she's always been that way, and I really value that in a friend, you know. And it comes from it comes from love. It's all intention, you know. And when she said 50 pounds, she was absolutely right. When you do, if anybody's ever had that before, where you're carrying, you're toting some heft, it can happen slowly, and you don't see it like other people do. You can't see yourself objectively. It was very shocking to see the first couple of episodes, and then as it went on, and go, gee, I'm Jabba the Hutt. You know, it wasn't comfortable. And then it was a personal decision. But when I called Sarah and I said, look, I don't have to take the weight off. I really want to do that. I need to feel better. She said, don't worry about that. And I said, I just didn't want it to be a surprise. And she worked it into the character, but it was where the character was going anyway. I don't think he would have gone to like and it ended up dovetailing perfectly. I don't think he would have gone to this Paleolithic men's retreat. But it really helped because I do think that I'm not comfortable saying that he's, what was the word you used? Just
men's rights activist.
A chauvinist. I don't know that he would think of himself as a chauvinist.
Chauvinist, yeah.
I think he's sort of...
Both, they're really hand in hand.
But I think he thinks that he's for women's rights the way Charlton Heston would have said he's for women's rights, is that it's the 1970s Lee Majors version of a man. That's the way he looks at it.
I respect women.
Yeah, everything's fine. I'm broken, build some bionic parts and get me going again. And that's what he did. He's, comes back the $6 million man, and he's landed on the planet of the apes. Everything's backwards. The women are running things. I got to straighten that out. And it's an old-fashioned men's attitude, which is real, and it's not treated as a one-line joke. Which is the danger of a show like this, which is pro-feminism, but in the right way. And it's very important. And one of the reasons the show is so expertly put together is they're very fair about where men are coming from. We are the opposition. It is something true that women are opposing, but it's an actual realistic portrayal of where men are coming from. That's what I feel.
Well, it's a progressive show, but it's a progressive show about exploitation, and there's always going to be a fine line between how you are able to put forward progressive attitudes while at the same time exploiting long-held beliefs and stereotypes. I think your character, Jeffrey, is kind of the moral center of the show in many ways, but at the same time is also doing just as much exploiting as the rest of the people to try to make his career move forward, sort of push forward an agenda, but even to just get that agenda forward, he has to exploit those around him and stereotypes and long-held beliefs and prejudices.
Yeah, I like to think that Jay is the moral compass of this show. Shiri and I have constant debates on set behind the scenes, whether Jay is in the right or Rachel's in the right. I think that he learned from last season that the way that he was trying to align himself with Chet and compromising his morals and throwing the contestants under the bus not only didn't get him anywhere, but he really left him in a place where he couldn't live with himself. He sees these people all around him, the way that they're operating, Chet and Rachel and Quinn, rising in the ranks and getting ahead, making really good television, but selling their souls in the process. And he wants to make thoughtful, impactful, important television while still, protecting his contestants, protecting Darius Hill, and protecting himself, breaking through that glass barrier that people of color live under in the reality entertainment world, break through that and, create a new narrative where a new story can be told.
But that new narrative in many ways still has to be shaped around the old narratives, I think. 16 million viewers for the type of show that it is, you're going after a certain audience, and the minds that you're trying to change can't move too far too fast, and the show has to sort of exploit those.
I think he recognizes that, but I think Jay's ambitions are far beyond the world of Everlasting, so he's going to stay true to himself this season and hope that will be enough to create, at least change the minds of not only the 16 million viewers, but the people that he works with on a daily basis.
And Josh, your character's ambitions are sort of not beyond everlasting.
No, my ambitions are Rachel.
Is that true? Because my question going into the second season was, does he really just hate her this much, or does he still love her?
Yeah, he still loves her.
So it's all
you can't hate anyone unless you love them. Like, you can't be hurt by anyone unless you love them. Someone on the street's like, you're stupid. You're like, I don't know who the hell you are. All right, that's fine. But if someone you love is like, you're really stupid and you're messed up, you're like.
So do you think he's trying to take her down because he wants to help her, or take her down because he's just has so much value?
I don't think he's trying to take her down.
So heartbroken.
I think he's just trying to be involved in her life, and that's the only way that he sees being, because being nice to her, she won't pay any attention to him. Opposing her, she'll have to pay attention to him.
It's so schoolyard.
It's terrible, but boys are stupid when they're in love. We are.
And there is I don't know if he's a villain. I mean, can I tease the new character? Yeah. Okay. There's a new villain.
That's up to audience interpretation.
I don't know if he's a villain.
Coleman.
Coleman, yes.
I don't know that he's a villain.
He's a love interest.
Yeah.
Is he a love interest?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about
everybody
this
gets
character?
run through the machine.
That's right. He's a love interest
For
that has
which one
been
of us,
dropped
Constance?
into a world that may or may not change him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can we say that?
We like to turn people dark.
Well, everybody that works on the show is extremely cynical, and I think this goes back to the sort of progressive attitudes that your character has. I think all the characters in many ways are progressive, but at the same time they're shaped by the sort of cynicism that goes into modeling the show. Like, where would you say Quinn's sort of personal stance is on feminism, on race, all of these things that the show, that UnREAL explores?
I think she's like pro all of it. I think she's the thing with her, and I guess in this particular season, the historical revolution that Rachel thinks she is bringing to the world by having a black suitor is kind of like, okay, well, let's see, how are you going to deliver that? I'm all for putting all of this stuff out there and being straight up honest to people. I mean, I think that's what makes Quinn what people love about her is she doesn't have time for bullshit. She's on the clock. Oh, this is your story? Okay, let's tell that story. How are you going to do it? You're going to do it now because you have like 5 minutes to get this, So I don't have time to think about it. But I think that no matter what, she's all about trying to put the best representation of good television on TV. Whether it's the way the people are in real life, that's that's still yet to be seen. I mean, we might, that's kind of what we do. We want to take people and turn them into what we want them to be in order to portray the best message.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that wrong?
Always justifying Gwen. Jeez.
Always. I have to. This is the great thing, though. I think that what you'll find with all of us, we're all so committed to our characters, even when we know what they're doing is bad, because we have to be. We have to love them for everything they stand for. Otherwise, it's not real.
What everybody really wants. You said yesterday what
Is
everybody
love.
really wants.
Right. Everybody's searching for love. That's really what the show's about.
So, Shiri, you directed an episode?
I did. I directed the 6th episode.
Is this your first time directing television?
This is my first time directing television. It was.
How did it go?
It was amazing. It went really
incredible.
great.
She killed it.
Oh, thanks, guys.
The only difference was that she got paid a little bit more that week. It wasn't any different. She's been directing all along.
Really?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really into the show, and I definitely came in with a very specific point of view on how I wanted to tell the story, and all the actors really just gave me their best, and it felt like, I grew up on set. I've watched directors do this my whole life, and to be the person that finally gets to call the shots, I felt like I sort of had the muzzle off. I was able to be the most myself I've ever been. It felt incredibly liberating, and I really can't wait to do it again.
I've never seen her so stress-free on set.
When she was directing?
She was literally like, she was like, I finally get to do it the way I want to do it. Like, it was always like a little bit held back before, because you could tell.
We have directors come on who are like, because it's so, you have to think of so many things, and then you've got an actor going up, I don't like when I have to be, and you're like, I don't have time for that. You have to speak very economically to the actors, give them direction, which she was able to do. She was there for everybody. And plus, there's a learning curve, and she's becoming a director. It was a very comfortable experience. It's a great episode, right?
I think so, yeah. I think the episode turned out really great. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah.
It's such a different experience directing television than a movie, because the director sort of owns a movie and comes in, and if an actor says, well, I don't really feel comfortable doing it, like, shut up. This is what I wrote. This is what you're doing. On a television show, actors own those roles.
Absolutely.
Have you found directors do have trouble sometimes coming in? Because you guys all seem really connected to your roles, and not just your roles, but to the show.
Yeah, it's also very challenging. Like, we shoot with 3 cameras at the same time, and our show is really on the move. That's how we create the chaos of behind the scenes. And so when a director is coming onto our show for the first time, there's a big learning curve for them, because they don't actually know how this show is made. It's not made in a very similar fashion. I've never worked on something like it. So obviously, having made every episode of this show, like, I knew how this show worked best. And so I felt like I was able to put everybody in a situation where they could win. But yeah, it's very challenging, I think, for other directors. There's also a lot of freedom that the writers give us with the words. And so sometimes directors will cut before we're like, wait, the scene's actually not over yet. We're still moving. So it was just awesome to give us all the space to tell the story the way that we feel like we tell it best.
I have to ask one more question before I go to the audience. As actors, as a director, it's a rarity that you get a film or a show that is or will become iconic and will possibly define your career at a certain point. It's a rarity that you get a Sopranos or a Breaking Bad, anything like that. And in my opinion, you guys kind of have gotten that with this show. Not to kiss too much ass, excuse me, but does it feel like that? I mean, it's a completely original. It's a show that sort of can define the culture in many ways and talks about everything that's going on in the culture, but at the same time is dramatic, funny, and just very well made, which is a rarity and hard to find.
I think it's a complete rarity. I mean, I feel like when you sign on as an actor to tell a television show, you're just hoping that it's good and that it'll be seen. And, obviously finding 3-dimensional female characters that can be unlikable or can just be going after things like power and success.
You're not just chastising Kevin James for staying out too late or something.
Yeah, like, we are telling our own stories, and these men are all lovely and have built wonderful characters too, but they're really affecting the women. And that's something that is very rare as well. So, I mean, in terms of it having like a cultural impact, I think that would be too large to think about every day when you're going to work. We're just trying to tell the story the best way we can. And, one of the big things is everyone's asking, like, well, how are you going to live up to season 1? And early on in season 2, Constance and I were talking, and she very smartly said, we have to let this be its own thing. We can't keep it comparing it to season 1. We have to tell this story. This is a new story. We have the first black suitor. Let's let this be its own thing. So we hope that people respond to it in the same way, but we're just
But it's going to be different.
It's going to be different.
It's going to be different.
Your mother said the same thing too.
My mom said the same way.
Good
That was
advice.
lots of anxiety and nerves because we want to live up to what we've achieved last year. But my mom was like, just let it be what it is.
And the fact is, last year was, we want to do something different and we want to take a chance. And Lifetime has been so supportive and said, we want to support you doing that. And like Jeffrey said, they did a version and said, no, this wasn't your vision. We want you to go for it, which is unheard of, you know? And we did. And it's the same thing. You can't, that would be the same as saying we want to be like every other show, to say we want to be like the first season. The thing that made everybody connect with it is it surprised people. And this, I guarantee you, is not going to be what you think it is. And the surprises that come out kind of lash out, and they're frightening. And in a great way, in an entertaining way. And they cause people
Yet
to think.
funny.
Yet funny.
Yes, always. No, there's always
A dark
an undercurrent of
comedy.
humor. These are cynical, funny people, but the undercurrent of there's some real dark, scary stuff about these people, and it's fun to watch.
Were any of you afraid of tackling race going into this season? It's not to say that the season itself is just about race or anything like that, but I find, I guess personally, as like as a white man, race is a little bit harder to tackle sometimes than just gender and gender identity and sexuality. So a lot of times people have trouble not being preachy when it comes to talking about race because they're very scared of how they're going to come off, much more so, I think, than just talking about relationships, love, gender, and sexuality. Were any of you scared of how the show would handle it?
I wasn't scared at all. I think the writers have done a really beautiful job of letting us be very inclusive in the process. They're very sensitive to the topic, and they realize that it is a very uncomfortable conversation to have, but one that's absolutely necessary. They don't shove the story down anyone's throats by any means. We kind of just lay it all out there for the audience. This is the truth of the situation. Yes, it's uncomfortable. No one wants to talk about it, so let's talk about it.
Absolutely.
We're also just putting facts out. We're trying not to be a commentary, or we don't have the answers. We really don't, and I don't think that's what the storyline is about. It's just about giving information and putting it out there and let the discussions begin.
But dramatically, it is sort of, I mean, I was reading, I'm not going to give anything away, but things are sort of going along, and you go, oh, this is how they're going to deal with that issue, and a snake just like kind of sort of comes out of nowhere. It's never good to sit next to me because I gesture broadly.
I gotta.
But it sort of, and in the way it happens in life, you're comfortable sort of going along. Oh, we're all just fine. We're comfortable, and then it's truly frightening. It was frightening to read in the script. I'm sure it was frightening to shoot, yeah. And I think everybody it'll grab everybody.
I gotta turn over to the audience for questions. First question.
Hi, great to see all you guys. I have to say one thing first. My brother would kill me if I didn't say Constance and BJ, you guys are missed on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Big time.
Thank you so much.
Now you can come watch us both together on one show.
And we're both still alive, exactly.
But being on UnREAL and dealing with seeing how reality shows work, as a cast, all of you, would you want or would you do reality if you had that option? Like, would it turn around? And is this something you would have done if you weren't an actor? Do you think you could handle it?
Absolutely.
Never. No.
Is anything available?
I would never.
You heard something?
Yeah, I don't think I could handle like a camera crew following me around all the time, being me. I
think
feel like that wouldn't be entertaining.
It would be fun to do something thoughtful, like a docu-series or something like that, but like a produced reality show, absolutely not.
You wouldn't want to deal with these people on a regular basis.
Oh,
seriously.
wait a minute.
Ooh, the new guy.
I'm just saying.
All right, new boy.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
have fun
including
being
me.
Mary Jane, BJ.
Oh my God!
We took
I said us. We're a team. There's no I in team.
Next question.
I cooked for you.
I think this is the last question because I took up way too much time up here. Sorry, everybody. Next question.
Hey, all. Nice to see you. Jeffrey, twice as nice at AOL Bill, man.
Thanks,
Love you
brother.
here.
Nice to see you guys.
So, on the topic of reality TV, what are a couple of your favorite reality shows? And on the flip side, what are some of your least favorite reality television shows?
RuPaul's Drag Race is my number one favorite. Yes.
Project Runway, because it's a competition.
The presidential campaign has been troubling to me. The guy was entertaining, but I'm afraid about, I don't know who's going to win, but it's scary.
A good one. Project Greenlight.
Yes. We're on Project Greenlight.
I was on Project Greenlight, but the new season of Project Greenlight was incredible.
Amazing.
I like one where Snooki flips houses. Sorry.
I was like, really? I would watch that.
Snooki and her husband flip Jersey Shore houses.
Oh my God. For me, it was Amazing Race.
Just Naked and Afraid.
You guys, I have to let you go, but congratulations on another great season of the show. I've only seen 2 episodes.
Thank you very much.
Phenomenal.
Awesome. Thank you all.
June 6th, right? June 6th, Lifetime. Unreal, guys. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.